technology.
We have a visitor here today, Luke Osborne from the ECA, who's arrived in a nice electric car to talk to us about EV charging. Welcome, Luke.
Hi.
Luke, why is the ECA so proactive with the whole EV world?
Well, part of the commitment we've got to reach net carbon zero 2050 involves a sheer amount of change overall, and a lot of it is the electrification of heating and the electrification of transport. And obviously EV charge points and the installations thereof are a massive part of this. And so we want to make sure that all our members and installers, the electro-technical contractors, etc., are fully trained and they can provide quality installations.
And so what are you doing in that active promotion of training? You know, we have an interest because we produced an online training course for EV installers. There's a lot out there. How is the ECA regulating, checking, quality checking? What's going on?
We make sure that we inform our members and also the wider electrotechnical communities out there on the nuances that are needed for installing electric vehicle charge points. We don't do our own training. That's where we rely on bodies like yourselves to deliver the training in a manner that members will understand. But we'll go out and we will do presentations to our branches, to regional events, and in these strange circumstances, lots of webinars and online seminars, etc., etc. Just to highlight the fact that it's not a straightforward circuit. And that the installer does need to have suitable understanding of the knowledge needed.
We were surprised as we were creating EVE, our course, that it is not a straightforward circuit. A lot of people still feel that way. In fact, we had a comment the other day that said it's just another radial circuit, and it's not, is it?
No, it should be. In fairness, it should just be a straightforward radial circuit. But because of the issues with the occasional broken pens in the DNO network, which, to be honest, the DNOs should be responsible for rectifying, the onus has been put on the installer and in some way the consumer, because the costs are passed down to the consumer, to rectify these issues. And so that's why there are peculiarities through section 722 of the wiring regulations that make it not a straightforward radial circuit. And
section 722 has had its own interesting issues and iterations, hasn't it?
It changes over time regularly. We've recently had Amendment 1 come through in a lot shorter timescale than a normal amendment, and this was to make available another option that's come about in Indent 4, which then helps to mitigate the need for earthing rods, etc., to be put in. It's another additional tool that the installer has. But yeah, the technologies continue to change, and also problems become encountered, and so that's why the regulations are there to be changed.
What are your feeling about the OLEV situation? The OLEV grant, which started off, I think, at £1,000 when the whole thing was new, and now has diminished slowly. It's gone from 500 to 350 just recently as we speak. How much of an incentive is that, given that there are also complications with the whole OLEV process, as far as we know?
We're supportive of the OLEV funding. It's good for any new industry to have a bit of a helping hand. And as the numbers of EVs, the adoption of EV increases over time, or has increased, it was likely that we would see that amount come down. EV sales are up 500%. On last year, so they are growing naturally. The OLEV grant coming down is fair enough. All these grants were only there to help reach price parity and to aid adoption. In certain circumstances, it probably is an additional tool for the installer to help sell the installation of electric vehicle charge points. And to be honest, as an industry and generally, we need to be persuading people to have the right form of charger and not rely on the 3-pin granny charger.
So you're alluding to the fact it has to be a smart charger to qualify for OLEV. So
yes, and also just to mitigate against putting a long duration 10 amp load on a standard 3-pin socket for 16 hours, which is going to create thermal degradation. So the OLEV grant has helped in that respect. Also the fact that you can use it for 40 charge points commercially should help to enable fleet operators to have more dedicated charge points put in. But there are issues. We've seen considerable payment delays to our installers from OLEV just through simple or non-existent mistakes on the paperwork.
And when that sort of thing happens, and as I move around talking to Sparks at exhibitions and such like, I'm constantly, you always hear the problems because people like talking about problems. There's problems with people not complying, whereas other people take the time to get the qualifications and the training. And there have been problems with this OLEV system. What does the ECA do when that sort of thing happens? How proactive are you in going and kicking people?
Well, we've been collating information from our members and we're encouraging them to feedback any information, any instances they have. And we liaise with the electric vehicle code of conduct and wider members in industry, and also respond to the government consultations. There's endless consultations coming through at the moment. And so to make sure that we can feed back any of this relevant information, because if they don't know, I mean, I'm sure they are aware, but they need to understand the levels that this impacts the cash flow of businesses. So we try and feed it back to the right people and help influence it that way.
Just thinking about EV as a technology, I know you're very passionate about recruitment into the industry. How attractive is it for younger electricians to bring people in on the back of a technology which is all about the planet, effectively?
I think we're missing a trick here with the electrical industry. We found through conversations with colleges and school leavers and the likes that the next generation is so in tune to the problem of climate change, and they're often unaware of the opportunities that the electrical industry can offer for them to be part of the solution to the problem of climate change. And when you start to have these conversations with them, it's almost like the lights come on. And you start to explain that the exciting new technologies that are coming through, electric vehicles, solar PV, battery storage, smart technologies, energy efficiency, how it all interacts. There's some amazing opportunities out there for them to, as I say, help to be part of the solution. And so I think potentially we need a bit of a rebranding of the industry. And we need to work with further education providers, schools, colleges, etc., to help put this messaging across, and also to help ensure that the STEM courses are still a key component of the education out there. We then also need to ensure that employers offering apprenticeships continue to be supported. And also there's routes for mature candidates as well, but they need to be supported through the real living wage. So we're going to see many people changing industries going forwards, and there's going to be a huge amount of job growth in the electrical industry. And to encourage those mature candidates, the real living wage would be a suitable solution to help bridge that gap.
Well, I can hear in the distance lots of older Sparks saying, yeah, but they're now just letting people wander into our industry with next to no training, no real apprenticeship experience, and get the name electrician. What are you doing about that?
To be honest, they do have a point. In the last 10, 15 years, that has been an issue. There's been a number of fast-track courses out there, enabling new entrants to come in. And to be honest, doing that route, we don't believe they'd be suitably trained and skilled enough to industry standards. Luckily, recent changes have come through in the EAS, the Electrotechnical Assessment Specification, which is going to prevent new entrants coming through via these short courses. And we think that's a really good way to maintain the quality standards that are needed for future electricians. Unfortunately, there are a number out there, and chances are some of them are very good as well that have come through these routes. But we would always encourage installers to carry on their learning curve, especially for new technologies coming through like the electric vehicle charge points, and to continue to further their knowledge through CPDs and shorter courses like these.
So to summarise, Luke, you're here, you're very passionate, I can see, about the whole world of EV, but how would you summarise where we are right now? What is your view of the state of electrical installation, training, in terms of EV? Where are we?
I'd always encourage the electrical installer to get trained on these nuanced technologies coming through. There's good training out there, as you guys have demonstrated with the LearningLounge Eve platform. It's accessible. We need to make sure the installers, even though they may have the training now, still keep abreast of changes in technologies through various CPD training or additional courses that can go on. I mean, we were looking outside earlier and there's a number of charge points outside your building, which are probably not compliant to current standards.
Some of them have already been there a couple of months.
Exactly, yeah, they look almost brand new, and yeah, there's still a lack of understanding in certain companies, certain installers, perhaps, but maybe the information's not being expressed enough, and so that's why it is really important for the installers to take on courses like these.
Okay, Luke, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.